so kind to fix it this morning and not last night. Really appreciate that.
Not the timeliest responses for customer support, if you will.
No, the slowest to be exact.
Gotta be real.
It was 7:00 when I put that when I sent over the, what do you call it? They call it a ticket. Sent over the ticket, and I didn't get a response till 9:00 this morning. Ridiculous. So we got a giveaway tonight. You got to stick around to the end for your chance to win. So make sure that you do. Until we get there, welcome to the Snobby Boys.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype. Throw that to the side.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Snobby Boy Podcast. I'm your host, Colby. That is my homeboy, Joe, right there. We couldn't get to you guys last night because of technical issues, but we are here tonight on Thursday to talk about some shit, obviously. But before we do talk about that shit, make sure that you hit the like, subscribe, notifications. Make sure you follow us on social media at SnobbyPod. And do it now. Do it right now.
And then share the shit.
Share it.
Okay?
Share it.
Share it with your buddies, your pals, your family, whoever.
Your amigos.
Tus amigos.
Whatever you want to call them. Just do that. Joe, what are we
yes, sir.
What are we on about tonight?
Tonight, we will be obviously spending a good chunk of our time reviewing the Champions League result against Real Madrid from Tuesday. Unfortunate repeat performance of what's happened to us numerous times this year. So we'll dive into that. Got some takes for folks that might be the opposite of how most people are feeling about the match, personally, from me. So, What's up, Steve? What up, man? Good to see you. Saw you over at Luke's and Nimmel's late night stream for them. So thanks for hopping over with us, my guy. Appreciate you. So after we thoroughly review the Champions League match, we will jump into some city and community updates. There are some things that have popped over the week that we will jump into. And then at the end, during Bro Talk, like we mentioned at the very beginning, maybe you weren't quite in here yet, but we do have a little giveaway during Bro Talk for folks who stick with us until that point. So we'll have a little something for y'all to fight over at the end to reward y'all for your time spent with us on a regular basis and being here with us. So we want to give back a little something to one of our followers who are watching us during Bro Talk. So that's the plan tonight. Little Real Madrid talk, little city news, little bro time, and look ahead to the weekend.
Yep. Let's do it. All right. Let's first and foremost talk about the starting 11. As veteran as it possibly could, aside from Savinho. We had a stacked bench full of young players for the most part. Who were a couple of players that you were watching in this one?
First and foremost, when I saw the lineup, I was super excited to see the back four that we've probably been wanting to see the entire season. This is the first time it's February that we've had our probably first choice backline. And then that allowed my favorite thing in the world that we've been missing all season, was Johnny Stones playing in that 6, in that holding role. That was the very first thing that I noticed. I saw Akanji, Diaz, Ake, and then Joshua. I was like, oh, then Johnny's in. That means he's playing the 6. And that's what I've been banging on since Rodri went down, was that when he's fit, when he's healthy, he is our solution to not having Rodri. And I think we saw that for the first half of the game until we had to do some shuffling of the lineup because of injuries and lack of fitness. But when Johnny was in that 6 role, man, it was a different ball game. So he was the first one I was noticing. The other piece that caught my eye was Phil was not starting and Jack was in there. Pep was rewarding, I think, Jack for some recently good performances. Phil's been a little bit up and down the last couple of weeks, so I think he went with Jack. Much like we talked about the show before. We were talking about maybe Jack's in there to ruffle some feathers, maybe get some of those guys who are on yellows to potentially dive in late on him, get flustered. So I think that was a piece of it. Unfortunately, old Jackie boy got hurt within the first 20, 25 minutes and had to come off. Nice to have somebody like Phil Foden to be able to come in and take that spot and fill in. So the biggest things for me was seeing Johnny Stones in the 6, and then
here's my thing. Here's
Mr.
my
Jack
thing with,
and Phil.
Here's my thing with Jack. He came off after he got beat on a run. Did he actually get hurt, or was his feelings hurt?
We have not seen any.
We have no
updates
as to what the injury is at all. He came off with little to. I mean, he looked like he walked right off and everything was fine. He looked like maybe he got winded or something. Like
thinking that maybe it was like residue from when he got it sat on and his head back, like hit on the ground and got his maybe. Like when he got. That was the only thing I could come up with because it didn't seem like he had a muscle injury or anything else. So I thought maybe that was the only thing that I could think of as to what was the problem. But otherwise, yeah, like you said, didn't really seem like
he needs to get a haircut. He needs to get a haircut.
Did you see the dude getting a trim at the Etihad on Tuesday night and on social media that was going around? There was a guy sitting there with a barber, like lining him up and
in the middle of the game, like in the stands.
It looked like it was less full, so it was probably maybe like halftime, maybe or before, or like after. But he was definitely sitting in his chair, getting lined up.
Was that you? Did you do that? No, homeboy's been sick the last couple of days. Hope he's. Oh, actually, I just talked to him a little bit ago. Said he's feeling a little bit better. He's just kind of been pushing through at work. So, way to go, champ. Yeah, that'd be wild if it wasn't though.
Right? That should have been funny. But yeah, man, I was very excited for the 11. I thought it was going to be a strong group and was going to be a lot more solidified in the back than we have seen in a very long time.
Yep.
For the first 45 minutes, that was the case. And then
no, man, I like his locks, man. Let them things be. Let them things be. You know who could take a few tips though is Rico, man. That fucking sideshow bob haircut's got to go.
Rico and O'Reilly, Nico O'Reilly need a little bit of helping hand. But that's the style for the 19, 20-year-olds, man. Like the younger crowd, they love that shit. And I just
fucking Patrick
not for me.
Cut.
Not for me.
Not for me either. You look like they look like Nico kind of looks like who's the of the two Bebop and Rocksteady who had the fucking mohawk? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, yeah, I know. I was trying to.
Do I have to look this up?
I want to say it was Rocksteady. I want to say it was Rocksteady.
Sure, one of them. They just need to just get down.
Yeah,
I would rock an afro if I had hair that wasn't incredibly straight. Let's throw
that Roy Kent wig back on.
Right, his Jerry Kerr era. Yeah.
Was there anybody that stood out to you when you first saw the 11? What was your feelings and thoughts?
I mean,
when it dropped.
Same thing as you. I saw a solid defense. Definitely saw Johnny work in the 6. the one that really kind of for me stood out amongst the group was Savinho because he is the youth on the team. I really thought that his paciness would be utilized better with this, especially with being able to get service to Holland, especially the way he's been able to break lines lately.
Mhm.
That didn't really come to fruition. There's something I'll say later on once we get through talking and discussing the finer points of the match, but Savino did play well. I'm not downplaying that he did or saying that he didn't. I'm saying he there were certain other things that I was looking for personally.
You were looking for a little bit more from him.
Yeah. But on the whole, I mean, the first thing that also popped out to me was the fact that Nico Gonzalez was in the squad, but he wasn't on. Obviously, with this being Real Madrid, we obviously want veteran players in there, people we feel a little bit more comfortable with, especially in big game situations. But I felt like maybe he could have also saw some time just a little bit, just to kind of give him that kick and really see what his metal's like. Because suffice it to say, he got a rude awakening to the Premier League. Maybe give him that in the Champions League too, But obviously Pep did not feel he was ready. So got to side
either mentally or physically, potentially. Like maybe he was fit enough to train, but wasn't quite ready for the intensity level physically of Real Madrid, and didn't want to risk him further injuring himself, because we've had that problem all season where guys, yeah, exactly. We've had guys coming in this off injury and having to play. You know what I mean? So it's like
this injury bug has been absolutely just gutting,
never ending, bro.
Gutting,
never ending, man.
One thing I want to point out though, before we start really getting into the finer points too, is the fact that Kylian Mbappe doesn't know how to tie his fucking shoes. Did anybody catch that at the beginning of the match where his shoelaces busted?
Yeah, he was there like freaking whining about it, and get off the damn pitch. I don't care that your shoes are. You got a boot issue. Get off the pitch and get him a new pair. Let's keep this game rolling. There was entirely too much time wasted.
So much
waiting for him to get off the pitch, and the referee not making him to get off quick enough. And then when he finally was like leaving, he took his sweet time. So I'm like, let's get on with the match. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was absurd.
Come on, dude.
Absolutely absurd.
I get that your shoelace busted, but like, hustle off, get some new ones on, and let's keep it moving. Let's get this show on the road.
How about you just tie your shoes properly, so we don't have to fucking put up with this shit? That was oh my god, a professional match at the highest level of the sport, and we've got to worry about your fucking shoes.
We can go old school, or we can go youth style, and they can get those little slip-on guys that some young kids wear because they can't tie their shoes,
right?
And slips on their boots to cover them up, so that kind of thing doesn't happen. Yeah, exactly, Steve. Yes, but you might be thinking of something else. My assumption here is
I know what he's doing.
Different
You're nasty.
thing there.
You're nasty. No. Right off rip, man. Though, fantastic stop by Ake. One of the things that I'll say,
nice to see him back out there, man.
Yes, we needed that, and we needed his pace. I felt so confident, literally for the first 73 minutes. I felt so confident that we were going to keep this and make this our game, especially with how well we were in possession. Yeah, it was absolutely first stop by Ake was awesome. And then right after that, Vardiol runs into the box after passing to Jack. Jack passes it in. Vardiol touches it off his chest, and Holland finishes it for a goal. Goalcheck took a fucking light year.
It really felt like during the check they were looking for an excuse to rule it off.
Yeah.
It should not have taken that long. If it takes that long, in my opinion, then the goal stands. Because at some point you're arguing over millimeters, and that's not what we're here to do. No. If you can't clearly tell, it's like the NFL. It's the wording. indisputable evidence. If you can't tell after looking at it for 30 seconds if he was on or off, then it stands as called on the
And the
field.
rules clearly state that if your arm is beyond that line,
Yeah, and
it
it's
doesn't
fine.
matter because you don't play with your fucking arm. Like,
Yeah, and they showed the graphic later on in the match of the when they were doing like a highlight thing. I'm like, why couldn't we have that right away?
Yeah.
Why did it take 3 minutes to decide this?
right.
And the lead up to the goal too, like Holland got the ball, held it up, laid it back to Jack, which created the space for Yoshko and Holland to run in behind because he collected it, kept it, laid it back, and that created space for both of them to run into. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about right there. And Jack, wonderful ball to just kind of chip it over the top. And what a layoff from Gavardiol off his chest into the pathway for Holland. And then that was not an easy finish whatsoever.
Facts. Fucking facts.
Dude, yes. Yes. And probably had a few pints beforehand too.
Seriously.
So that was some vintage City stuff right there between Jack and Erling. That was fantastic work.
It was. You know what also has been vintage lately? Is us scoring first and not being able to finish the game.
This is facts. 5th time this has happened this season where we've been leading and then lost points or lost the game from leading positions. 5th time. That, and I had this note in the community update, so we'll just say it now. That equals the number of times we've let that happen the previous 4 years combined. So in the 4-year run as Premier League champs, we did that 5 times in 4 years. This year, and it's only February again, we've done it 5 times already this year. Nuts. Frustrating, yes, absolutely. For me, I look at those 45 minutes where we had the lineup that Pep probably wanted to have, and we were the better team. First half, we were the better team. The defense looked great. The possession looked better. Guys were throwing their bodies on the line for each other. They were making blocks. Ederson was fantastic in the first half, made lots of really good saves, strong saves, made them look easy.
Fair play, Steve.
Yeah, right?
Fair play.
This season, for sure. But I was extremely encouraged from what I saw from the first half. Once Akanji had to go off and Rico came in, it wasn't there was a clear drop off. We were not nearly as hard to break down. Rico did well at times. He had a couple of missteps, but he had some good moments too. But it wasn't the same defensive solidarity with Akanji leaving at halftime. So I don't say I was expecting it, but once Akanji went off, I was far less comfortable with what we were doing. And then in the 60th, when right after they equalized, when Ake, I think they planned on taking him off. I think he only could give us 60 minutes based on the fact that he was just coming back from injury. And as soon as he left, forcing Johnny to go back into the defensive back line and putting Kova in the 6. We lost all control over the midfield and turned the game. Yeah, exactly, Steve. He played better, but it's still just it's not good enough to be playing against the likes of Madrid in the Champions League.
Nope.
He's fine if we're playing against lower tier teams in the Premier League and then in the FA Cup and things like that. He can be a useful player there, but he should not be one of our first guys off the bench in Champions League when we're trying to win against Real Madrid. That's just that's not a recipe for success. And it's unfair to ask him to do those things when he's 20 years old. I mean, he's experienced at this point because he's played a lot of football for us, but he's still only 20.
He is the essential squad player.
And yes, exactly. Yes.
He has not given us enough in the midfield, let alone at right back, for us to consider him for a lot. He needs to be a secondary third option at this point. If he's in there, it's got to be a part of a special game plan that Pep has that he's going to utilize
against certain opponents. Yeah, exactly.
But so another one that I want to point out, Savino's his stab against Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
That was crucial in that moment because if we didn't have his speed there,
Yep. We
Vinny
weren't
was
catching him.
Vinny was blazing to the byline at the very, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there was no stopping him. And I was really impressed to see how well not only Savinho, but Jack did as far as getting back defensively and actually playing box to box ball.
Yeah, Savinho might not have given us a whole lot offensively, but he worked his butt off getting back and helping on the defensive side for sure. So there's two sides. And when you're a winger, complete wingers do both. Some, which is why we were able to just pass it around and keep the ball so well in the first half of the match. Some wingers, like Vinny, like Rodrigo, like Mbappe, have no interest in doing the dirty work. So
He didn't even know what the fucking banner said.
till like after the game, right? Like later on.
He didn't even know what it said. We'll talk about that later because I have some choice feelings about that one in specific. It ties into recent happenings, but also, gotta call a spade, and I will. Jack came off then right after. Foden came on. For me, again, I feel like there's no clear lines as to what this is. To me, I saw Jack got beat, and then all of a sudden he couldn't play no more.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's a little sus. I'm not really sure which way to take this. Is his pride beaten, or is his legs really beaten?
We shall see.
Question.
We shall see.
There was an opportunity there early too. It was around the 36th minute. Bernie missed Foden in space and opted for Holland in a congested area. We have time off, and again, we have really missed the mark on this, guys. Like there have been times throughout the season where we have left people in ample space to receive the ball, and we have chose the congested area over the player who is wide the fuck open. What is it going to take for these players to start using their vision a little bit more?
Unplanned with the blue hats.
Yeah, that was totally that was totally unplanned. I honestly, until you just said that, I did not register in my head we're both wearing city blue hats, as I'm going to call them.
That we are.
Yeah. On the whole, though, for me, as we Joe's been saying, and I've been saying in little bits, like this was it was a good first half of football from both sides. But definitely from us, it was a giant improvement. I think for all of us, we felt a little bit nostalgic in seeing this veteran side producing and getting things done and looking crisp and looking on the same page for the first time all season. There's hope in that, guys.
Exactly.
There's still hope in that. You know what I mean? I think there comes a point where we have to be real with ourselves and realize that this just isn't our year, and that's okay. And I've said this time and time again throughout this season. It's okay. Maybe it needs to be that we just need to suck this one down, beat ourselves out of the Champions League. I said something gay? Didn't I?
Steve is going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
You said suck this one down, bro.
I did.
Sorry. I derailed us on that one.
That's all right. We just come to we have to be okay with where we're at and say, you know what? Let's set ourselves up for next season. Let's focus on getting in the top 4 of the Premier League so then we can have that opportunity to come back to this competition. Maybe we focus on the domestic cup of the FA. Maybe we know that winning the league is all but out of the question at this point. Yes, we got some help from Everton yesterday, which was nice, but it is minimal and not enough for us to even.
We need like 3 or 4 more of those before even.
We honestly,
with us winning,
3 or 4 of those need to be drops on their part and us winning in order for this to even come close. But suffice it to say, they will not be seeing the Centurion mark because of that game.
No,
Thank God.
thank you, Everton.
Yes, we appreciate
One and
it
only
very
to
much.
do that.
You don't. I don't know why you're still in this fucking league. You're terrible. You're terrible, and then you're not, and then you're terrible again. Tarkovsky, though,
There,
he had a
that was a
fantastic game.
banger. That
He
was
had
a
a
banger.
fantastic game. I've always thought highly of him. Obviously, I don't think he would be like City side quality, but like some of the things that he does.
He's a proper Premier League defender.
Yes. Yes. Facts.
But I'm right there with you, though. My overall feelings for, even with the result being what it was, I wasn't like, I was disappointed, obviously, at the way we lost. But overall, man, like I still feel like if we can, once everybody's healthy, this isn't like a permanent drop in form. Like our guys are just absolute shit now, and this is going to be a long term thing. Once we get everybody back, kind of like what Pep was saying in the bottom of where we were at, he was saying, "Give me my guys back, and we're going to see a different team." You know what I mean? Like, I still, we put those guys out there. We put Stonesy in the midfield if he's healthy. Totally different squad. His ability to hold the ball up and spray passes from that 6. Mateo is just a different type of player. He likes to pick the ball up, turn, and run with it. John picks it up, and he's hitting diagonal balls across the field on a dime that's opening up space in a much quicker fashion than somebody carrying. Old saying goes, ball is always faster than a man. The ball will always move quicker. I always remember that from basketball early on. The coach, everybody lining up on the baseline. Who's the fastest one out here? And, the fastest kid's like, I am. And they sprint down there. And then he just chucks the ball and it beats the kid by like halfway. And the ball, it's true. The ball moves faster than a person will. So having Johnny's ability to do those things, none of the other guys have that. They don't have that in their bag. So having him there, seeing our guys compete the way they did, throwing their bodies on the line, it was a totally different City than we've seen. We didn't look tired. They didn't look like they were just going through the motions. There was fighting the boys again. So it was really nice to see that. And even though we lost, I'm highly encouraged. Whether we go to the Bernabeu next week and turn it around, I don't know. It's not, 1 goal deficit is not insurmountable, even if it's at their place. So there's still hope there. And if we don't, that's okay too, because there's enough positives, I think, to take from that game that we can build on that for the rest of the season to make sure we get those Champions League spaces and make sure that we continue to compete in the FA Cup. I mean, that's there for us. Arsenal's out. Chelsea's out. Liverpool's out. These big names are gone from the FA Cup now. So that is ripe for the pickings for us to think about that. Where we were in the fall. I don't think anybody, when we were in our deepest parts of the season, were expecting any kind of silverware.
I don't think you need to fucking
hardware.
remind us either.
Yeah. So, and if we somehow manage to finish Champions League and bring home the FA Cup, that's not a terrible season, honestly, man. Like it's not. So it stinks the way it's transpired because we're going through it, obviously, as a collective group. It's tough, but man, there was so much good I felt from the game, even though we lost, to be hopeful of what we could see going forward with our guys getting healthy and with the young guys coming in and providing a spark once they get fully adjusted. Because obviously they're not ready quite yet for the magnitude of a Champions League game against Real Madrid and the likes of Vinny Jr. and Mbappe and those guys. Like that's a tough ask of anybody, let alone somebody who's only been there for 2 weeks. So
church.
Hey, no, thanks, man. So we referenced it a little earlier. Akanji had to come off at halftime. Rico on for him at right back. And then what do we have there next? More blocks from the lads. This time it was Joshko getting in on the act and stopping Mbappe and stuffing and then Rico stuffing Vinny. So you saw the guys getting back, helping their keeper out. Gotta love that. So I thought Joshko was absolutely brilliant. all match going forward and defensively. He was one of our better players and was super impressed with our left back. I really liked what I saw from him.
For sure. That Mbappe goal. There was nobody on him.
And it was
not a single person.
Nobody tracked his run whatsoever. They just assumed that he was going to be offside. But like, my guy hit it off his fucking shin guard, and it spun in. He mishit the shit out of that and got so lucky.
No doubt. 100%.
Like, come on, dude. Like that.
100%. But that's
so annoying.
This was the was part of the match where our gas tank was visibly starting to empty. There has to be. What's up, Bebo? There has to
Thanks
be.
for jumping over, bro.
Yes, sir. There has to be a point where Pep gets over himself, learns to trust a little bit more, because right around this time is really when we needed some of that youth maybe to come on and fill up. Like, Ruben did a good job throughout the match for the most part, right? But if we would have brought on Kusanov or even Hayes at that point to rotate with somebody in the middle, I mean, Kanji was already out at this point. You had Ake left in there, Rico at right back, G over at left. Johnny was starting to tire. He wasn't really being as much of a defensive presence as he was more of an attacking presence. I don't know. I just this was the part of the match where I started to just, my stomach started to hurt. I saw a repetition of something that has happened to us time and time again, and I said this earlier in the episode about how scoring first typically has not led to us winning or finishing the game proper, and here's the start of it, at least.
Yeah, it's kind of more of something bad happened, unlucky goal went in, and then that kind of sucked a little bit of the spirit and energy, I think, from the guys a little bit. Thankfully, Phil, like you mentioned in the comments there in our notes here, put a. I think that's exact. Yeah, I don't think he's talking about my Salt Life shirt.
Luke, if you're on YouTube, if you just hit that tab under more, you can go right down to our store and you can purchase one. There's also the loyalty code. Did you remember it? Sure, during podcast. Sometimes I you know what? Maybe I should. I could start, playing with my titties for you guys.
Oh my God. Thanks. Appreciate that, Luke. Got this down in North Carolina. One of my favorite shirts. This shit's so comfortable.
That company and Guy Harvey are best beach shirts you can fucking buy anytime you go to the beach here in the States. I got this long sleeve one, and it's a Guy Harvey Real Tree collaboration. And if you know Guy Harvey, Guy Harvey does these amazing prints of saltwater fish. And I've got one of a fucking dolphin, not a dolphin like a porpoise dolphin, but like a tuna. Shit is so comfy, and it's awesome. Yeah, I am totally keeping everybody abreast of the situation. Would you like a suckle of my zipple?
Oh. Hey, Dr. Evil.
He said, oh.
Okay, Dr. Evil. But Phil laid his body on the line for the team and took one. That was I was a little unsure when he pointed for the penalty. I was like, okay, that's going to get overturned. They're going to find some way to say he was outside of the box or whatever. But the ref was very adamant right from the get-go. He pointed right to the spot, was very clear in his decision. And then you look at the replay and you see the guy just clatter into him with his knee pretty much. And that was a tricky part with that one. When Phil took that step and his right foot planted, other guy's knee came in and hit him right when he was planting. That's the worst time for that to happen because you get a lot of torque on that joint. And I thought that was going to be a bad one for Phil. Thankfully, he got up, was able to continue, and didn't look any worse for the wear. But man, he definitely took a shot and allowed us to get that PK. Holland, very calm, very collected, typical Holland penalty taken there. Loved seeing that.
I want to see that effort more, to be fair.
Yeah.
I want to see that
When
effort more.
attacking, absolutely.
Yeah. Phil's really good at that. There's a few others that could be good at it, I think. But all in the same, sacrificing in those moments when it's needed most is what this team, honestly, in a deep sense, like there's something that's missing. It's that deep fighting spirit that we have. Huang said it best. We've been our fucking worst enemy for the most part of all of the last minutes of these what seem like we're going to win losses. I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm reading comments again. I'm reading
No, you're
comments.
good.
I'm not finishing my thought. I know that it's hard for them to find that because as it stands right now, the way that I keep talking about the injury bug, like it's just a morale deflator. Like, that's all it is.
100%.
You literally walk out of every match with at least a knock, if not two. You're overplayed to all hell. I think I still firm on me saying this though. I think Pep needs to trust a little bit more. Because as it stands right now, we really don't have anything to lose except for being knocked out of the top four. We don't get a cup. We don't get a cup.
It's okay. There's always next year.
Okay, right. And we've heard COVID year referenced time and time over again. Like maybe this is just our run stops here, and we start over again.
Happens to every team.
It does.
Every team in every sport. You cannot keep up that level of success sustained for a very long period of time, and we've done it for 8 years. It seems like now. So that's a pretty damn good run. So
yeah,
I do want to talk about the second goal where they tied it up. Right? I'm saying, Steve, it's a shame sometimes when it happens.
I know.
It happens to the best of us, though. It's okay, Colby.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that second goal that Madrid scored where they had a quick shot and Eddie stopped it with his chest and it deflected off of him back into space and Diaz was able to guide it in. Kudos to him, at least for the first go around, not celebrating since he was a former academy product and played here. Respectable touch on his part. But once again, it might have been different for our guys across the pond because they had different commentators. But on this side, those of you who are listening on the U.S. side, the goddamn, not the color commentator guy, but the play-by-play dude was driving me and my daughter, who's a keeper, absolutely nuts with their criticism of Ederson. Why didn't he just use his hands? Because, bitch, he was coming out like you're taught as a keeper with your hands low to protect against a low shot. And he's not fucking the Flash. He can't move his hands up in time that quickly. You humanly cannot do that with the pace that ball was coming. So yes, he used his chest to stop the ball. That's your first and primary responsibility as a keeper, is to keep the ball out of the back of the net. He did that on that shot. And then he had the nerve to criticize him for how he guided the ball off of his shoulder and pushed it into the middle. You think he was intending to do that? He was just trying to stop the damn ball from going to the back of the net. He wasn't intentionally saying, here, let me just pass it to Brahim Diaz off my chest. That wasn't what he was intending to do. And you're banging on this dude for no reason for that. Like, you don't even know the position at all. You never played it, and that shows. It was so annoying.
On that Diaz goal, Ruben could have sacrificed his body there, and he didn't.
And Kova didn't track that dude whatsoever.
No, he had no tracking.
Kova was just letting him go right past him.
Ruben was already back there, and all he had to do was move his body over 7-8 inches, and he could have at least put a fucking shoulder on it.
Mm-hmm. wasn't the same desire at that point from a couple of our guys to
No, and
from the
that's what I'm
beginning, because at the
saying.
first half they
Nasty
were
gone.
the first half they guys were putting those shifts in, with putting the blocks in, throwing their bodies on the line. Towards the end, didn't quite see the same level of commitment on that. So
You scallywag.
super, isn't he though?
He's such a scallywag.
So equalized, unfortunately, let it in, and then we all know what happened towards the end of the match. Had another Kova. I'm not trying to kill the guy. I'm not throwing people under the bus. But he put Rico in a really tough situation with that lofted back pass and in no man's land, with Vinny just bearing down on him. Rico, you got to do better there. You cannot let him beat you to that ball. You can't just stick a foot out and hope for the best. You need to run through that with your body and not let that kind of thing happen. Should Ederson stay back? Maybe. If he does, maybe he has a little better chance at stopping it. But when the way that Pep coaches his keepers, they prefer them to come out and make a mistake that way than waiting on your line and not getting support and then giving like a guy a one-on-one opportunity. So it gives everybody nasty feelings because of what happened against Feyenoord, I think, where he came out in similar situation, got knocked past them, and they were able to pass the ball in. So it's tough. You're not. I mean, he's trying to make a play. Was it the right decision? Probably not. But there were several things that led to that goal happening prior to him too. So it's a collective blame on that last one, and it's the same thing that's reared its head before. It's just mental lapses. They just are trying too hard, or whatever. It's in their head that we've lost leads before, I think, and they're trying too hard to make a play instead of just being in the moment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure, Carragher had no problem ripping into Ederson after the match, though. He had two rippings of us. That's the first one. We'll get into the second one later. But on the whole, we lately, the way we've been doing our notes, we want to, at least show some respect to the players who did do well. Unfortunately, to say in this one, at least for what I wrote for the standout players, I wanted to give the whole defense their flowers. Especially the way that Stones worked and his ability in this type of contest. I felt everybody worked as a unit for the most part, but the tank ran out with the swiftness in the second half, and we cannot have that anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I for me, it was definitely Stones had a great game up until the last 10 minutes. With Pep there, because he was giving Ederson some praise and said he was our best guy out there. He saved so many tough goals throughout the first 75 minutes of the game. I'm not going to give him one of the 3 stars, if you will, just because of the last piece. But Stones, Gavardiol, and I think probably Holland. He scores 2. I thought he had a good mentality. He was working harder than I've seen him in a while.
Exactly. He showed up and worked. Yeah.
And Huang, absolutely. I think it's fair for especially in this particular match, especially the way things unfolded. Some of the substitutions were out of his control. Akanji had to come off; he was injured. Jack had to come off; he was injured. And then Ake, I think, only was going to give us 60, so he was coming off. But bringing in, what was it, Gundo again towards the end to shore out games, that's just not the option at this point. He's not providing enough defensively to help us in that situation. Marmouche for Savinho
either. So
right, so Marmouche for Savinho. I mean, I get that one. He's more in form than our other winger. Like Doku's probably not quite there yet. So you bring him on to get some experience. I don't think he was bad. I don't think he was at fault. He didn't really help too much, but he wasn't terrible. But yeah, it opens the door to question things though, because you say you put the experienced guys on, and Kova in particular, not great. So maybe Nico could have done better, but maybe you put Nico in and he makes errors too, and you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you put the young guys in and they fail, you're a shit manager because you threw them in when they weren't ready. You put the experienced guys in to that you trust, that you hope are going to be used, do a good job mentally and not make mistakes, and then they do, and then you're a shit manager because you should have gave the young guys a shot. So it's like
Always damned if you do, damned if you don't. Always.
you can't win either direction. So
always a double-edged sword.
I was okay with, given the options available, I was fine with Rico coming on at right back. I didn't want to see a whole shift at that point and put Stonesy over there and maybe bring in Nico or something.
Or
I
even
was really
Nunez come in and try to fill
yeah.
that.
No thanks.
No.
And Kusanov is not ready for that type of thing, in my opinion, in that moment. Maybe as a starter with some protection, as a center back where he's played. He hasn't really done a whole lot of right back quite yet.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to throw him out there in this situation, still trying to learn that. So I understand why he made the moves he made. It just didn't work out. The guys that came on just did not help us see it out. They actually cost us in the end, unfortunately. And that's not what they intended to do. The guys don't go out there with the intention of making mental errors, but they did. And now we're in a 1-goal deficit going to their house, and they are going to be rocking and rolling and ready to go. There will probably be a little extra motivation from their fans, considering what we decided to do, which we will talk about on the other side of our break, because that was a big talking point.
Sure was. Kusanov had not ready for that type of game yet. No, he's definitely not ready for that type of game. Though his pace could have proved something for us. But I totally agree with the sentiment that he's not ready yet for this level of competition. Few talking points though, moving out of the match, is how will Pep rotate the squad with Newcastle on Saturday and then Real Madrid right after midweek?
Yeah.
This is both a question to you and to people in there. What are some rotations that you feel could deem necessary going up against Newcastle on Saturday, and how those are going to affect who Pep chooses on Wednesday?
Well, we know Akanji and Jack are not going to be fit for this weekend, so we know they will probably see Phil come in, I would imagine. And we're going to have to sort out what we're going to do at right back. I bet Nunez comes back in this weekend at the right back spot. I think they might rest Ake again to give him some time so he's ready for Wednesday. So I think we'll see a different pairing with Diaz. He seems to be back in full fitness, so I don't think there's going to be much rotation as far as Diaz and Yashko goes, but it will really be interesting how he decides to work the midfield. I'm glad that we play on Wednesday, which is nice. They get a somewhat earlier match on Saturday, and then they get all the rest of the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then travel day Tuesday. So they get a little bit more time to recover. But I think it'll be super interesting to see what Pep decides to do squad rotation wise with that midfield prior to see which one he's kind of prioritizing, or if he's able to at this point, because we do now at least have a little bit of depth with the young guys coming in, and a couple of our guys, and Doku's coming back. We are starting to see a little bit more health, so he's actually got options. I hope we see Nico this weekend. I would like to, if he's fully fit and able to give us some time. I think it would be really great to see him back out there this weekend and get a full. He got his introduction into English football. Let's see what the kid's got. I mean, it's going to be a tough game. Newcastle's a physical squad. They got a lot of pace across the entire pitch. I do not want to see a Kova Gundo pairing in the midfield. I would very much not like to see that. So I hope Nico gets some run and maybe go see what Doku's got this weekend. He's been back on the bench the last few games. Seems like he's ready to step back in. So give him some run, let him go. Holland, I think, is going to be out there regardless at this point. So it's a good thing that we have a little bit of extra time before we got to go to Madrid. So probably 3 or 4 changes, I would imagine, but I don't think it's going to be anything like super drastic at this point.
Can we bounce back against Newcastle? They have been on a decent run as of late. So do you think that us being at home that we can continue to try turning the ship around with this one?
I think so. At the risk of being called a happy clapper, like I said earlier in the show, there was a lot, even though some of the same things jumped up on us again as far as mental lapses that cost us the game. There were still so many good things that I saw out there. I think they had, especially being at home. We don't got to travel. We had 3 straight around here, around the Etihad. The guys aren't traveling a lot. We're getting more health. Then that part too, Steve, because Newcastle is, when they're hot, they are hot and on fire, and they can beat anybody. But there are times when they show up and they exactly. Then they're totally different sides sometimes. So maybe this is it's serendipitous that we're playing them again when Oscar Bob is coming back and Kev's maybe we have another late goal drama from him again. You never know.
I don't want to go on a late goal drama. I just want to win.
I don't care how it happens. Whether it's
I just want to win.
3 goals in the first 5 minutes or a late goal in the stoppage time to win it. Let's get 3 points. I think we can bounce back.
We're getting closer to months where the sun shines a little bit more over here, and I would prefer that my vitamin D levels were in a better place. So if City could just do some work, that would be great. Because as good as those gummies are,
ain't nothing like some bright sunshine.
Yeah, I just need something happy to keep me on happy, right? How do you think Pep is going to approach the second leg?
I think it's going to be like 15, 20 minutes of caginess and then all out, like just blitzing with attack. I think he's going to put a lot of his attackers out there and maybe leave 4 or 5 in the back, but the rest of it's just going to be full on going for it. We can't sit back. We can't just score 1 and then hope for stoppage time and PKs. We've seen that story before against Real Madrid. Prefer not to do that. So I would rather lose, 4-2, 4-3 with us trying to go for it and trying to score goals to turn it around than us sit back and lose like 2-1 and us not really try and go for it and just like be too like cautious or defensive in hopes that we like just nick 2 and then try to set up shop. I hope that it's much like the first one where in the first half of this past game, and the guys are up for it. They're going for it. The first goal in this one, obviously, it's at risk of sounding ridiculous. The first goal, I think, is super important. If they score it, that means we got to drop 3. If we score it, everything's even, and the game is going to be completely different. So I think it's a super important, much like we did this game. Score early, get 1 early. Level it up, then both sides are feeling the same kind of pressure. If they score first and we have a Kanji incident like earlier in the season where we conceded a goal within 2 minutes because of a dumb pass, that's going to be a big problem, and it's going to be a long 90 minutes from there if we don't score first. So I think we have to push from the very get-go and try to get that first goal. Agreed. We're capable. We got the guys for it, but we will see on Wednesday next week what happens.
We shall. We're going to go ahead and take our little break. We'll come back and talk some city and community news. And then, of course, we're going to talk with you guys just about some random shit. Also, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So if you are here and you want that giveaway that we're doing, it's pretty nice one. I suggest that you stick around to the end. We'll be right back. Damn, when you
It's like the
listen,
music thing is not doing it. Like, what is happening?
you screwed up with fucking my storage last night, and now the buttons. You're messing with my buttons. Evie Mux, stop it.
That's not. It's not a good sign, guys.
Stop it.
Get yourselves together.
So moving into city and community news, obviously we understand that we will be without Jack Grealish and Manu Akanji for a bit of time. There has been circulation going on that Manu is going to be out for the rest of the season. The sources in which those came from are not credible enough to be given that status. As we know right now, it will only be a few weeks. I would imagine this is probably going to be at least 3 to 4 for him, from what it seems like. Yeah, he'll be done for that. Jack, obviously, like we said earlier, we don't know. Nobody knows. There's not been anything from the club. There's not been anything even that the shitty clickbait journos have put out about him yet. So until we see something, we know nothing.
Yeah, the first reports that came out earlier this morning, probably later in the afternoon over there, was Akanji's done for a couple months, likely out for the season. But that was sifted through by most folks, I think, and it came out later this afternoon for us and nighttime for you guys that, next 3 matches for sure he's done, reevaluate and see where he's at that point, which is much more reasonable. We don't really know the extent of it yet. So calling for him to be out for the whole season that early without yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, that means he's not going to be available for some big matches. And having him at right back in that back line that we saw at the beginning of the Madrid match would have been really nice to see more than just for 45 minutes. I think if he was fully fit, second half probably goes a lot different. And I'd feel so much more confident going into the next few Premier League fixtures, which are not going to be easy, if we had his services as well, because he's been really our most consistent and most available defender pretty much all season. So, and I like it. It's hard to replicate his size, smarts, and pace. He's total package at center back that you could want. And then he's a more than serviceable right back. He did a fantastic job while he was in there in the first half. So not having him going forward definitely stings a little bit. But that gives opportunities for other players. Other guys going to have to step up, and they have an opportunity to show what they got for some very big matches for the club. So take that opportunity and run with it, man.
Faux show. City have drawn Plymouth Argyle in the next round of the FA Cup, and we will be at home. Thank God.
Yes.
As they have been slated big club killers for this tournament, which I find mildly amusing, considering who they slain the last round.
Brentford and then Liverpool.
Yeah.
3-0. So hilarious that happened to them. No, we mentioned when it happened. No treble season for them. Just us. It's real nice. The interesting thing that popped today for me on this topic, and I would like to know what those over there feel about it. They're introducing semi-automated offsides, and VAR for the 5th round. Previous 4 rounds and everything, no VAR for any team, any match, nothing. There's no semi-automated offside rule. This is the same competition, though. So I don't understand using it for some parts of the competition and not using it for all of them. It's very confusing to me why they're doing this for the 5th round only and not have done it before. Because there's still a bunch of earlier rounds I understood why they wasn't available, because some grounds that you're playing at don't have the capabilities of doing that kind of technology. But some of those teams are still in it. So like I don't understand. I'm not grasping why we're using it sometimes and not all the time and whatnot. It just doesn't make sense.
I 100% agree with that. There has to be continuity throughout the entire competition, not just at certain levels of the competition. Because that shows that you're expecting by the 5th round for it to be all big clubs. And obviously
Right.
that's not the case in this particular instance. And I think this is where VAR gets bit in the ass again for their lack of continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Having them in having it in some matches and then not others, it's not really. And this goes beyond just this competition. It's not fair
At all.
Either use it or don't.
Yeah. Keep it the consistency across the board, because the previous round 4, there was a couple of very big decisions that impacted game. Having the semi-automated offside or VAR could have changed the outcome of the game. Looking at you, Manchester United, Harry Maguire was offside on that goal, and if you had any kind of VAR or the semi-automated stuff, that's readily checked and seen, and that goal is ruled off. So like, how is it fair for now that it's being used when it was in the last round that it could have been extremely helpful on? So I don't get it, man. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Somebody make it make sense. Yeah. So we've been kind of hinting at this the entire episode. We're finally at this point. This may be a very unpopular opinion. To us, it's not so much because of whom created it. Little bit of disdain there, considering that this was stolen by them. I'm going to go ahead and say it, though. The Stop Crying Your Eyes Out banner, it was classless, considering that Madrid didn't show up for us and us retaliating in this way and then losing to boot was a terrible look. Awful, awful look. It looked premature. And honestly, for me, personally, it's karma. And I hate to say that and put that on the club, but like...
Well, when Madrid, because this was all directed at them and Vinny Jr. and their decision to not show up for our boy. How did the majority of the fans, not the players were very classy. Our players were very classy in saying, I'm not engaging in it. I'm here to support Rodri. I don't care about what they're doing. They can do whatever they want. I'm not taking anything away from our boy. Shine the light on him. All of our fans, which is fans' prerogative, you're allowed to do that. You can talk smack all you want. We all were like, Madrid, that was, Bush League. It was crybaby-like. It was very petulant, all those kind of things, which is fair. Absolutely fair to say. However, to then turn around when we're trying to be above that petty bullshit and then stoop to their level by unveiling that giant, humongous banner right in front of them, we lowered ourselves. We're supposed to be the standard of how things are supposed to operate. We have a certain level of expectation on our boys, on our club. As a fandom, we should go along with that. And in that situation, the folks who created it, the folks who unveiled it, all that kind of stuff, lowered themselves to people we were talking bad about. And that puts us on the same level. And we shouldn't be there. We're classier than that. We're classier than that. We should be anyway.
we're not Kendrick Lamar and trying to send subliminal messages. I mean, that was a very obvious message, but he couldn't even read it. So I mean, it's nonsensical at that point. Like, it would have been cool if you maybe put it in Portuguese so then he could have seen it and understood it.
And
But
read it exactly, but we didn't do that.
even
And
still,
then when you lose, it's just a whole lot of egg on our face, and then they have all the ammo in the world to point to us and be like, see, look, they're douchebags. We said they were douchebags before. Look, they're being douchebags. And now that's how we're going to be perceived. And now we've given them and their fans all kinds of ammo to make it even more uncomfortable for our players at the Bernabeu.
Yep. Especially
It's already difficult enough. It's already difficult enough. And now their fans are going to be even more fired up to talk shit and to be loud and to come up with whatever other signs they might want to do. We've now given them all that ammo that they
Literally,
want. We've given them bulletin board material. You don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I hate giving other players, fans, extra motivation to run at my guys. Like
the only saving
it was disappointing. It was disappointing that we decided to do that.
The only saving grace that we have is that we walk into the Bernabeu with them on 5 yellows. So it's still, regardless of that, it's a bad look. It doesn't look good at all.
Yeah.
Do you know what this reminded me of? In a way. In a weird way. I guess maybe not the exact way, but like people who step on the terrible towel.
Mm-hmm.
You shot yourself in the foot every single time. If you don't know the curse of the terrible towel, go look it up. It works. And that's kind of what we've done today, except it was more of us the other day. It's more of us shooting ourselves in the foot.
Own worst enemies in more way than one on the pitch.
So many more ways than one. So I kind of encourage our listeners to call it as they see it. I know a lot of us get mixed up in the emotion of the fact that we support this club and we love it, and sometimes we give it more attention than what we should probably. Be completely honest. But we have to learn. Especially we're going to use a statement like "be humble" or "stay humble." Like, we need to be that ourselves. But I encourage our listeners to call it when they see it and be like, dude, what are you doing here to help build the presence of our club in a good light? If this is what you're going to do, and it comes back to bite us in the ass, like, do we really want you to do that anymore? I wouldn't.
When doing something like this, you weigh what good is this doing?
Right.
You weigh the good. How is this helping the club?
It doesn't.
But on the other hand, us doing this, how could this negatively impact things? What if we lose? Oh, now we look like complete dumbasses for putting this whole thing up.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the purpose here?
Exactly.
Sergio, I didn't forget you either. I love you, Kun. You're my boy. But you did not need to go on a pod or whatever it was saying that there's no chance Madrid beats City. And if you do, you're going to cut your testicles off or something.
Yeah, that's what. Whoa.
That's what he said. Did you hear that? Did you hear what he said?
No, this is fresh information. What the?
Yes.
Come on.
He went ham.
Oh.
So
that's no.
We don't need to say things like that.
No, we especially threatening to chop your genitalia off, especially in today's climate. Let's not do that. Let's not.
And one of the things we talked about was, you mentioned earlier in the show that Jamie Carragher had 2 things, and this was one of the things that he had referenced after on the post-match show was the banner and everything, right? He felt this much the same way we
First
did.
time I've ever agreed with him.
Weird. Very weird.
Very weird. Usually by the time the match is over, whether we win or lose, I'm tired of listening to him.
Right.
So I'm glad that I caught him this time, but I just, for the sake of our own pride, let's put a lid on it for a minute, because we ain't. We ain't big dogs.
We
Right?
got we have the ultimate trump card. He won the Ballon d'Or. That's all that needs to be said. They can bitch and moan all they want. He won.
The decision
There's
is the
no
decision. There's
excuses.
nothing that changes
That's
it.
nope. So there's no need for any extra stuff throwing it in their face. We don't need to do that.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. That really completes the city and community news. We're gonna get into the comments with you guys, and you guys can fire questions at us, do whatever.
Devo's still in here.
Steve is definitely in here. He is in high contention right now for that thing we've been talking about since the beginning of the episode, which we'll pull up here in a minute. But if we had won it, I just want to read his comment. If we had won, it would have been not thought of, but the loss sized it. How was the pod today, guys? It was good.
I'm assuming you're just getting done with training this evening, my friend. So,
It's your homie.
yes,
Got you.
yes.
Their negative hasn't really affected them. It won't really affect the city either, really. I mean,
I hope so.
I hope it does.
I hope it doesn't affect us at all, but we'll see what happens on Wednesday because now they have they won, they have the lead, and they got some extra oomph to throw towards our guys. So I hope that it doesn't come back to bite us.
We all need to remember that this is not just a physical game. This is a mental game too.
If this season has taught us anything, that is one of the big old takeaways for sure. Hit the gym. Okay. You're slacking, bro.
Right on. That's a slack. We've had a steady 20 in here tonight. Love to see who all is in here. We're gonna have to.
For sure. No Akanji.
Not drastically.
No Jack.
We'll be out with those two guys of service for sure. So
I think the biggest one is where does he put John? Is he going to keep him in that 6, or is he going to put him out wide to play right back and let Nico cook in there in the middle? Maybe that's the move for against Newcastle.
Maybe you double pivot it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And run Nico and Kova at the back.
A little bit of, I wouldn't be mad at that. Probably a little extra cover because they got such pace. So
right. Yeah, I really don't want that fucking little skinny white boy getting down on that.
I did appreciate that skinny white boy talking some smack towards Arsenal when they beat Arsenal. And he said after the match, he really thinks that what we really need to do right now is just stay humble. And he was throwing some shade at Arsenal using our guys' stuff. So I appreciated that about Alex Gordon. But not this weekend though.
It's funny how we kind of rub shoulders with a couple of different clubs in this league, specifically like West Ham, but Newcastle sometimes is our like, hey buddy, help us out.
Yep. Yeah.
But our match days again, honestly, I enjoy the Newcastle match, whether it's at St. James Park or if it's at the Etihad. It's always a good game. There's so many interconnections between the club, even with most recently Kieran Trippier being a part of their squad, even though he's
aging out, if you will.
That's
and what I like about them is that when we play against them, it's really not unlike other big clubs. Arsenal, when Newcastle plays us, they don't change their style. They play football. They go out it. They try to score. They don't just set up shop and play counterattacking 10-man bullshit football. They play. They try to go for it with us.
Yeah,
Liverpool, much the same way. They don't change who they are when they play against us. They come out guns firing, and it's an entertaining game whether we win or lose. Unlike Arsenal, who like to just sit back with 10 dudes in the box and defend the whole time, and maybe hit us on a counterattack here and there. Newcastle, I respect because they play. They actually are trying to go for it. They have good players. They got, Alexander Isak has been on form and on fire all season. He's going to be difficult for us to deal with. He's got size, got pace. So that would be nice to have our 6'2" new fresh signing Porto, Mr. Gonzo, out there to kind of help counteract what they got going on, because they're also a very physical, tough midfield with guys like Joe Linton and Guimaraes and everything. Like we're going to need a little bit of
We also
more
haven't
tenacity.
seen Sandro Tonali since he's joined the club, and I have a
Right.
feeling we're going to end up seeing some of him. So he's definitely another player.
He's tough too.
He's very tough. That's another player that we're going to have to keep our eye on throughout this whole match, because
100%.
in the last, since he's joined the club, we've had, I want to say, 3 matches where he's not been a part of the squad because of his suspension or injury. So now that we're finally going to see him, that's a whole other spectrum that we have to keep track of. Not just Alexander Isak, not just Anthony Gordon, also him, also Bruno G, also, you know what I mean? It's not going to be an easy one. I certainly feel like it's going to be a fun one, especially with us being at home. I'm really hoping that the proverbial 12th man does their job and drowns them out with sound. Honestly, that Premier League, the Real Madrid match, the crowd was fantastic.
From the jump.
Literally right from the, and honestly, I typically on my sound bar, I have to put it up to at least like 45 to really get that feel. I'd turn it down.
Yep. It was definitely rocking.
Yeah, they were rocking. So I hope that we can bring that into it, and because suffice it to say, we need everything we can get, and having 12 players, so to speak, up in their asses would be a whole lot better.
For sure. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how we're going to line up. I think it's going to be a fun match on Saturday, 10 a.m. our time. So should be good.
I'm glad to get it out early-ish in the morning, but I also really kind of love the 12:30 match, especially now that American football's over.
That's a great time. That time for us is perfect.
Exactly. Like, it gives me time to like wake up and really like stretch my legs out.
Start the day a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
Get a couple of things done.
Exactly. Well, and especially this weekend. This weekend's going to suck for me because I've got to go. I got to go to the DMV first thing
Again?
Saturday morning. I have to do it for the next 6 months. Yeah. Well, 5 after this, or 4.
Yay.
But between that and having to hit the grocery store before 10 a.m.,
it's a lot to get done.
It might have to. It just might have to be. I go during the morning because suffice the DMV is right next to the Aldi, so it was like I figured I could get it all done, and then you told me it was at 10 a.m. and I was like, "Fuck, just ruined my fucking Saturday."
Steve, is this a common occurrence? It feels like it doesn't. This kind of thing doesn't happen very often, where the other fans are kind of mixed in with ours. So I wonder.
I did see that for this match.
Wonder how that happened, because I don't think that's a normal thing. So
I also saw. I don't know if it was City Luke. No, it was City Luke, but I don't remember if it was the Real match or the previous one. He walked into a sea of the other club walking to the stadium, and he was like, "What the fuck?
What is happening here?
What?
You didn't? No, you're good.
Am I in the right place?
Where the fuck am I?" Yeah, didn't go down well, I'm sure. So can't let that happen again. However it happened,
Well,
identify the issue and don't let that happen.
I mean, I kind of know in part how that issue worked out, and it's because of how they're doing ticketing and stuff like that. They really do need to get a handle on that and work it a little bit better, especially for the people whom are wanting a season ticket. Because as we know right now, it doesn't really exist. I mean, they have different options for you to get multiple matches throughout the season, but it's not a true season ticket.
Right.
Working better with the locals, but then also there has to be a copacetic blend of fans that are coming over to watch the match. How you vet an outsider, though, for an incoming match, like you have, for us over here, we have to be a part of an OSC. Plus, we have to get the 2 different passes just in order for us to have a shot at getting a ticket. I understand why there's all those layers, but like for me specifically, Like, I don't want to be a part of an OSC. I did it. It wasn't worth it, especially over here. I'll pay the $35 for the flexi pass or whatever it is that I can, but I just I don't know. There has to be a better way of doing it, and being able to give everybody an experience. How much does ticketing cost? Is it comparable to you? No, it's actually it's cheaper.
Much cheaper, but like Steve said, I think the next one comes up. Yeah, it kind of depends on the match, but it's not nearly as expensive for like a typical, let's say like NBA game, because there's 42 home games, 41 home games. NFL is a little different because of you're playing significantly less home games, but like for a NBA home game, you're probably paying $80-$90 for a decent seat, maybe a little bit more than that. So
also depends on how well the team's doing.
Yeah.
So if we were to get tickets for a Wizards game right now, I mean, we would spend probably anywhere between $50 and $100, depending on where we wanted to sit in the arena. That's probably the most comparable to what a Premier League match cost would be.
Yeah, depending on where you want to sit, and if it's a Champions League game, if it's a Premier League game, those kind of things. But it's definitely not comparable as far as price. Over here, you're paying significantly more for tickets to single matches, let alone if you're trying to get in a, not necessarily, I guess, not season ticket might be the wrong word, but if you're buying your allotment of tickets that you usually get, I guess, it's not nearly the price that it is over here. So,
there've been plenty of comments made where we've talked about season tickets and all that stuff over here, and a lot of people. I mean, especially like if we're talking about the comparison to the NFL and the Premier League in prices. I mean, a single game you're talking about, Premier League can be a fourth of the price comparatively.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes all the way from having a single game ticket to having season tickets or a flexi pass or whatever they're calling it now.
Yep.
Good question though. Eddie Moore. So we got 22 people in here tentatively. Whether they're all here on YouTube is remained to be seen, as we've only seen Steve Black and B. But we did say we were going to be doing a competition, or excuse me, a giveaway, not a competition, for those who stick around. So little backstory, gave something very nicely away to somebody whom I won't name, and did not accept the gift. We'll say that.
They did not utilize it.
Did not utilize it.
After having it for 6 months or so.
Yeah. So we are going to be giving said thing away. We wanted to do it in a cool way, but suffice it to say, playing games isn't always that fun, especially in this platform. So we're going to do it like this. Whoever's the last person to comment for the night, until we're done talking and bullshitting, you'll be receiving a $50 gift card to our store on us. We'll be giving you the code. We'll walk you through the steps, whatever you need to do in order for you to purchase a t-shirt from us. It's on us. It's our way of saying thank you for being here. I know it's kind of a re-gift, but it does mean something to us to have the people that are in here in the comments consistently, and we want to show our appreciation back. So stick around for the next however fucking long we're here, and whoever comments as we're leaving out, I will give you that code. As long as
we will find you.
Yeah, we got to find you. We got to maybe we say put your whoever's the last person to put their email in, or first person to put their email in, will receive it.
And yes, I think some of the shirts are in kid sizes as well. Yeah. if I remember correctly.
Some. I did get rid of a lot in the store, to be honest. Things that weren't selling and things that just weren't popular.
Oh shit! I was supposed to send you some of that stuff. I failed on that action item at one point.
What?
I was supposed to give you like my top 3 things.
Oh, names would it be? I'm gonna have to go with a tentative no. I do not have kid sizes on everything. Steve, you're gunning for it right now, brother. Here's what I'll do for you, B. When we're done here, I will see if I can add in some kid sizes to the merch store already. I feel like I've had some issues adding in products to already made designs, so it might just have to be a new kids line that I do. But I will put that up for kids if you are interested in purchasing for the Ninos or Nina, whatever it may be. Yeah. Anybody else got any?
Depends on how
Big the kids are.
This is true.
B, if you want to, you can hit the more tabbing that you're on YouTube below, and it will pull down a full list of, well, it'll give you the episode overview, and then I have a bunch of different links there. Everybody can click on. You can look at our website. You can go directly to the store and to our social medias as well. Joe, do you have any off-topic funny or on-topic whatever to toss into the mix?
I just wish that adults didn't suck so much and ruin youth sports so much and feel like they need to insert themselves where they don't belong.
You have had a recent go of it, so
yeah,
I feel you on that. I find it very funny, not just in this sport here in America, but all youth sports. The amount of vanity projects that happen. You just want to make Joe do some work.
You see the kind of people I attract, right? First, Stu, who provides all kinds of embarrassing photos for you to utilize and throws me under the bus regularly. And now,
dude, you have
Brandon
been a wealth of trolling from your friends. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
What a big shout out to Ryan for sending me all those fucking funny photos of you.
My guy is down in Disney World living it up with his family. So
listen, I want a fucking lightsaber, all right? I want the Kylo Ren one. And I want to shoot lightning out the fucking, or fire out the sides too.
Both sides, please.
Yes, not just one. Not just one.
It's amazing how big people's egos are and how they let that cloud their judgment to the detriment of their own kids.
Yeah.
At times.
It's
crazy to me. And people think like this is normal and okay behavior. Just like it just and they sleep just fine at night knowing and just don't give a shit that what they're doing is self-serving and not to the best interest of their own children, let alone a bunch of other girls or boys on a team that, just want to play the game together. But adult egos get in the way and decide to do shady, disrespectful kind of shit. Like it's just, and then they're perfectly okay with themselves afterwards. It's mind-boggling at this point. And this isn't just my own personal situation that's happened recently. It's like it's across youth sports in general. I'm sure it's not just an American thing. I know other places have this kind of stuff too. So it's just yes, just let them play. The kids aren't even.
They're not even
shut up, Brandon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's if you are so competitive as a parent, you yourself probably should be doing something active instead of being the fat ass on the sideline, calling stuff, especially a game that you probably never played. I'm 120% guilty of this. I'm calling myself out as a parent, but I've never made it about. I want my boys to win. I think that's what we all want to see as parents, right? We all
Mm-hmm.
understand. We all should understand that there are going to be those days where the loss is hard and heavy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle it from there? Is the telling sign of who you are as a competitor's parent. How do you
Mm-hmm.
handle that? Do you pat them on the ass and tell them it's going to be okay? You tell them to fucking suck it up and go on to the next one.
You don't like how this feels right now, right?
Nope.
Nobody does.
Nobody likes
So
it.
what are we going to do to make sure we don't feel like this again?
Right. Losses should also be taken in the sense that it's not something that somebody took away from you, but a lesson you should be learning.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't walk away from a match or any type of competition or whatever, and you have failed at that point and you haven't learned anything, what good is what good is this doing you in the long run? What is it teaching you?
Mm-hmm. And it's a difference when it's about you and not the kids. Steve,
Yeah.
that's the adults make it about themselves instead of their children. They're either they're reliving their glory days or they never had their glory days and now they're trying to get it now, or trying to be the cool person and fit in with the other cool kids, or the other cool adults that were probably the cool girls in high school, or the jocks in high school that were all popular and everything, and they're trying to fit in because they never got that when they were younger, and now they're trying to find a way to be in with the in crowd, and be damned if it's good for everybody else or not. So it's just it's a shame people can't get out of high school.
You're absolutely that. The one thing that for at least for Aiden's team, that I really like is that in spite of us all being in different, I mean, we're all relatively around the same age. We're all in kind of different places in our life, but we all treat each other like family. You know what I mean? Not one
Mm-hmm.
person is lesser or more than the others. Every boy on that team is a family member, and we treat them as such. And I think that's so valuable, especially when you're in kids sports, because suffice it to say, it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather have those people uh, in an authoritative state over my child than some fucking stranger. Suffice to say, yes, there are strangers in real life, right? But when you're
Mm-hmm.
together on that pitch, on training days and on match days, you all look out. Well, at least we do. We all look out for each other,
Mm-hmm.
and I really appreciate that. And I would love to see more teams implement that type of thinking. But I know that it's hard because people are just people, and they're different, and they don't react the same way, and don't know how to be on a team. And honestly, those people show themselves very quickly in a season
Mm-hmm.
of who's truly a competitor and there for the development of their child, or who's there competing for themselves. Yeah.
This is another one, Steve. This kind of stuff happens over here too, and
Yeah.
oftentimes it's 16 to 20-year-olds that are getting screamed at by
30s.
allegedly grown adults over a 8-year-old soccer match. And that's why there's a shortage of good ones, because the young ones who get into it trying to make a little extra cash because they just maybe with their first job or a second side hustle type thing that they're trying to do while they're playing the game themselves, and then they go out there and get absolutely reamed by all of these grown-ups. I wouldn't want to do it either. I wouldn't want my kid doing it right now with the culture of youth sports in America right now. Both of my daughters know the game extremely well. They could go out there and referee a match, no problem. But if they ever did, my wife has been like, you know what? You're going to a match with them, and if anybody says anything, you're going to defend her. I was like, you're 100% correct. I would be at every match, and if anybody had anything to say, I'd be like, you can come talk to me if you got a problem with the refereeing.
Joe, you're going to have to go get your carry conceal.
Going down.
Especially you're not going to let us know.
So, yeah, because they don't stick around, and what we typically get are either young ones that are still learning, so you try to give them a little bit of grace, but they're still making, and try not to scream at them too much, or you get the other end, and the guys are far too old and shouldn't be doing it anymore.
Listen, the one
So
ref,
it's like
there's no his ass all match. That old man, bro, he needs to not.
Didn't move out of the center circle once.
Not once. No. I don't even think he left like the mid-yard mark more than maybe like 5 yards.
A couple of steps. But he was real enthusiastic at the end when he was doing his 3 whistles and points and everything. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Super. Well, he was probably saving up all of his energy for that.
For that moment. Exactly.
Yeah. Homeboy was literally picking out the worst wedgie I think I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. That was a joy to watch.
Throwing hands and giving cards. Yep.
He's seen me on sideline before. He knows how I can be. So
yeah, I haven't
coaching wise and as a fan, as a dad. He's seen both sides of that perspective.
I have yet to see the opposite side of you. I've only heard of the opposite side of you. Every match that I've come and seen Jordan or L play, you have been your namesake. Very.
You got to come to an indoor game because that's when
you're probably right.
Steph and I both get super fired up at indoor. But yeah, I can be quite intense at times.
I want to hear you say
working for. Say what?
Sir.
Oh, dude, it's very loud when the sir comes out.
That is the nicest insult that anybody.
I know, right? I'm being polite and respectful. I can say whatever tone I want.
Right. Don't tone police me.
Oh my God! One referee did that to me when I was on the sideline coaching. Do you remember me telling you about that? No, He came over and spoke to me because of a look that I gave him. I'm like, bro, I didn't even say anything to you. And he's like, you gave me a look. I'm like, I'm sorry. Are we not allowed to make faces?
Am I not allowed to express myself? Am I not allowed to be a human being?
I didn't say a word to you, buddy. Like, if I said something to you and made a face, fine. Come talk to me. But I didn't do anything. I made I had a look.
Guilty. Guilty. I did it once, and I'll never do it again. Never do it again. I did it to Borussia Dortmund. The ref that they had there, absolute little shitster.
Mm-hmm.
I want to rip his fucking head off so bad. I was like, I want your fucking badge number.
What is it? Don't look at me with that tone of voice. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. I was like, come on, bro. Like, you're on a power trip right now.
I actually think you saw the worst of me last season when I told the kid to get up. He'd been doing it to us all match. And their coach yelled across the pitch and was like, can't talk to an 8-year-old like that. He's going to have to learn someday.
You weren't being a dick about it. You were just saying hey, get up, dude.
Get up, dude. You've been doing it to us all match. I didn't even say it angrily.
It wasn't with an attitude or anything.
Sarcastic, and how the fuck he heard me means he was listening for it.
Yes, he was trying. He was looking for a reason to have an argument.
In all fairness, our boys were kicking the shit out of him, so of course he was probably in his feelings.
100%.
I'm pretty sure that match was it 6-1? I want to say it was 6-1. Yeah,
we'll go with that.
And I meant to bring this up a few weeks back. Literally a few weeks back, since the kids are back in training and stuff like that. Obviously we see bits of maturity in all of them as they go back into training and stuff like that. one of the things that I have to applaud my son at, he after the whole entire this off season of talking to him about stuff and what he wants out of this and what is he willing to do to get better and this that and the other, he, without me telling him to or anything, literally went up to his coach and said, "Hey Pablo, what can I do to get better? Where do I fall down or where do I fall short the most?" And I thought that was the coolest fucking thing, that an 8-year-old boy wants it so bad that he's willing to talk to his coach and ask him what he needs to do. Even though I've verified 20 or I've told him 1,000 times, like, dude, you need footwork. You have no footwork.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he listened to that and turned around and wanted the opinion of his coach, like, shows me that he's growing as a man, and that was paramount for me.
Proud dad moment right there.
Absolutely,
that's fantastic.
Absolutely proud dad moment. Booting the hell out of an 8-year-old is not a good look. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. It's that. It's intelligence and wanting to prove. I'll be honest with you, the bigger reason why he even went up to the coach, aside from that, is towards the end of the last season, he was moved from the attacking mid-roll back to defense, and that hurt his feelings a lot. He is as good as he is defensively, especially with the other kids on the team. There's only really 3 good defenders. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say to that. I lost my train of thought because I was thinking of fucking 5 things at once.
Happens to the best of us, man.
I know, man. It's also it's getting close to the fucking bewitching hour for me. So
this is true.
Yeah. We've been here an hour and 41. Steve Black has been the big commentator tonight. We appreciate you so much. Because of that, we are giving away our $50 gift card to you, Steve. We appreciate you showing up in here literally every single episode, bullshitting with us, having a good time, not taking sides on things. That's paramount.
And it's late over there.
And it's late.
Stick with us, man.
Yeah, considering how late it is.
You make it very difficult, Steve, where you should apologize for spending so much of your time with us.
Seriously. Seriously. So, Steve, if you could either put your email down in the comments for us so that I can email things to you, or what other way? I don't even know that I have you on social medias. I feel like you're only ever on here.
You know where to find us on social. So if you have one somewhere else, shoot us a DM, because I don't blame you if you don't want to drop your
email to everybody.
Email.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of weird about it. I was like,
yeah,
could,
maybe
but
not that.
I don't really want you to.
But you have our email, like our emails on our thing. So just shoot us an email if you can, and we'll get it to you. So if you can, send us an email, and we'll get that code out to you, my friend.
Immediately.
It's only 1:42 a.m. Yeah, no big deal.
In my shitty British accent. All right. You got anything to leave him with, my guy?
Let's bring the noise if you're going to the match on Saturday, and let's keep it positive. Let's keep it positive across the fandom, and let's put in work. Let's get 3 points this weekend. Set us up nicely for the midweek match.
Yes. Some confidence is due. So if we can pull through this one and get into midweek and feel comfortable again amongst all of ourselves, then it's doable. Anything's doable. Anything's possible. We don't know what's going to happen. Being down a goal in the aggregate going into the Bernabeu does suck, but we have it in us. I have faith. I have positivity that we can do it. It's just a matter of if we will. So
Perfectly said.
appreciate it. Until Wednesday, make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, notification, all that good shit. Steve, make sure you send us an email, man. I want to get this to you. Really appreciate all you've done by being here, being solid, being hilarious, literally every time you're in there.
Innuendos for days.
I could come on here pissed off and you don't know, and then I leave here in a good mood every single time. So appreciate you, man. Until we come back, hit the like, hit the subscribe, notification bells, all that bullshit. Make sure you're on socials with us. What can I leave you with? What can I leave you with? You know what? Because